Welcome to our channel. Today we're diving into a serious and timely topic: countries that are conducting mass deportations in 2025. It's an issue that, frankly, might seem like it's ripped from the pages of a dystopian novel, but I assure you, it's as real as the uncomfortable chair I'm currently sitting on. We're talking about the displacement of thousands, if not millions of people, often with little regard for their well-being or basic human rights. We'll be looking at the countries involved, the reasons behind these mass expulsions, and the devastating impact it's having on individuals and communities around the world. Let's get started. So let's start with country A, shall we? This nation, with its rich history and diverse culture, has always been a land of contrasts. From its bustling cities to its serene countryside, Country A is a place where tradition meets modernity. Now, Country A, a nation often touted for its economic prowess, has seemingly decided that its economic success is inversely proportional to the number of immigrants it has. This is a country that prides itself on its financial district, its skyscrapers, and its booming industries, yet it seems to believe that fewer immigrants will somehow enhance its economic standing. Imagine thinking a nation's economy is like a bathtub, and immigrants are the rubber ducky you only have room for when it's half full. This simplistic analogy fails to capture the complexity of an economy where every individual, regardless of their origin, plays a crucial role. The government cites a whole host of reasons for these deportations, from protecting national identity, which, let's be honest, is usually code for something far less savory, to alleviating strain on social systems, which is ironic considering they're the ones creating the strain in the first place. They argue that by reducing the number of immigrants, they can preserve the cultural fabric of the nation. But what they fail to see is that this very fabric is woven with threads from all over the world. They're rounding up people who've been living, working, and paying taxes in Country A for years, sometimes decades. These are individuals who have integrated into society, who have built lives and contributed to the community. They are not just numbers or statistics, they are human beings with dreams, aspirations, and a sense of belonging. These are people who contribute to the economy, who have families, friends, and lives built in this country. They work in various sectors, from healthcare to education, from construction to technology. They are the backbone of many industries, and their absence would create a void that would be hard to fill. And where are they sending them? Back to countries they barely remember, often facing danger and persecution. These are places where their safety is not guaranteed, where they might not have any support system. It's a heart-wrenching scenario, tearing families apart and uprooting lives. It's like taking a goldfish, raising it in a tank for years, and then suddenly flushing it down the toilet because you're bored with its color. This analogy, though simple, highlights the absurdity and cruelty of the situation. It's a decision made without considering the consequences, both for the individuals and for the society as a whole. It's cruel, it's inhumane, and frankly, it's about as effective as trying to stop a hurricane with a badminton racket. The protests we see are a testament to the public's outrage and the growing awareness of the issue. People are standing up, demanding justice and humane treatment for all. They understand that an inclusive society is a stronger society, one that values every individual and their contributions. In the end, it's about recognizing our shared humanity. It's about understanding that we are all part of a larger community, one that thrives on diversity and inclusivity. The children playing in the park, the elderly couple walking hand in hand, they all represent the future we should strive for, one where everyone is welcome and valued. As the sun sets over Country A, let's hope for a brighter tomorrow. A tomorrow where policies are driven by compassion and understanding, where every individual, regardless of their background, can find a place to call home. Because in the end, a land of shifting sands can still find stability in the bonds that unite us all. Next, we turn our attention to Country B, a nation that seems to have taken the phrase "build a wall" a little too literally. This country has not just built a wall, It has constructed an entire fortress, a labyrinth of barriers that stretch as far as the eye can see. The walls are tall, imposing, and seemingly impenetrable, designed to send a clear message to anyone thinking of crossing over. They've gone full-on fortress mode, erecting physical and bureaucratic barriers so high they'd make even the most ambitious squirrel reconsider its climbing aspirations. The fences are not just physical, they are also metaphorical, representing the layers of red tape and endless paperwork that one must navigate to even think about entering the country legally. The official line? They're trying to curb illegal immigration. Government officials frequently make statements about the need for security and the importance of protecting national borders. They argue that these measures are necessary to maintain order and prevent chaos. But here's the thing, seeking asylum isn't illegal. It's a fundamental human right enshrined in international law. People fleeing persecution, war and violence have the right to seek safety and protection. Protests have erupted, with people demanding that these rights be respected and upheld. It's like saying, sure, you can come to this lifeboat, but only if you can swim here from the Titanic. The analogy is stark and poignant, highlighting the absurdity and cruelty of the current policies. It's a desperate situation where the most vulnerable are left to fend for themselves in treacherous conditions. The impact on the immigrant population is nothing short of devastating. People are left in limbo, stuck in makeshift camps with no clear path forward. The emotional toll is immense as hope dwindles and despair sets in. Families are being torn apart, with children being separated from their parents and detained in conditions that would make a prison warden blush. The trauma inflicted on these children is unimaginable, as they are ripped away from the only sense of security they have ever known. We're talking overcrowded facilities, inadequate medical care, and a complete disregard for basic human decency. The conditions in these detention centres are appalling, with people crammed into small spaces, lacking access to proper healthcare and basic necessities. It's enough to make you wonder if the people in charge of these policies have ever actually met a refugee, let alone bothered to listen to their stories. The stories of these refugees are heart-wrenching, filled with pain, loss, and a desperate plea for compassion. Humanitarian workers on the ground are doing their best to provide support, but the scale of the crisis is overwhelming. It's a stark reminder of the human cost of these policies and a call to action for all of us to do better. Chapter 3. Country C. The legal loopholes of injustice. And then there's Country C, a nation that seems to have mistaken the legal system for a game of Twister played on a very slippery slope. They've managed to craft laws so convoluted, so riddled with loopholes, that even the most seasoned lawyer would need a GPS and a team of Sherpas to navigate them. They argue that these deportations are legal, that they're simply enforcing existing immigration laws. But when those laws are specifically designed to target and discriminate against certain groups, well, that's not law enforcement, that's just thinly veiled prejudice with a gavel. They've made it nearly impossible for people to seek asylum, placing insurmountable bureaucratic hurdles in their path. It's like forcing someone to run a marathon while carrying a refrigerator on their back. Technically, it's not impossible, but it's certainly not designed for success. Chapter 4. Country D. The world is watching and not impressed. Now, you might think that with all this going on, the international community would be up in arms, right? The sheer scale of the crisis, the blatant disregard for human rights, surely it would spark a unified global response. Well, you'd be right, partially. There have been reactions, but they are as varied as the countries themselves. Some nations have been vocal, while others have remained conspicuously silent. It's like that awkward family dinner where everyone knows Uncle Steve is being a complete nightmare, but no one wants to be the one to call him out and ruin the mashed potatoes. Everyone is aware of the problem, but addressing it directly seems to be a step too far. Some countries have condemned the actions of countries A, B, and C, issuing strongly worded statements and expressing their deep concern. These statements are often filled with diplomatic jargon, carefully crafted to show disapproval without causing too much of a stir. But let's be honest, deep concern doesn't really do much, does it? It's a way to show that they care without actually having to do anything substantial. It's a gesture, a formality, a way to tick a box without committing to real action. It's the diplomatic equivalent of sending someone a get-well-soon card, when they're clearly on death's door. It might make the sender feel better, but it does nothing to address the underlying issue. There have been calls for sanctions, for boycotts, for something, anything to put a stop to these inhumane policies. Activists and human rights organizations have been vocal, urging governments to take a stand and implement measures that would have a real impact. But so far those calls have been met with the same level of enthusiasm as a suggestion to watch paint dry. The international community seems to be stuck in a cycle of inaction where the will to make a difference is overshadowed by political and economic considerations. History has shown us that when the world comes together, real change is possible. We've seen it in the fight against apartheid, in the global response to natural disasters, and in the collective efforts to combat climate change. The potential for unity and action is there, but it requires more than just words. The world is watching, and the stakes are high. It's time for the international community to move beyond mere statements and take concrete steps to address the crisis. The future depends on our ability to act decisively and with compassion. Chapter 5, Country E, a glimmer of hope in a sea of despair. But amidst all this doom and gloom, there is a glimmer of hope. Country E, a nation that actually seems to understand the words compassion and humanity, has stepped up to offer refuge to those fleeing persecution. They're providing humanitarian aid, offering pathways to citizenship, and generally acting like a beacon of decency in a world that seems to have lost its moral compass. It's a stark reminder that while there is immense cruelty in this world, there is also kindness, empathy, and a willingness to help those in need. The situation is far from resolved, and the fight for justice and human rights is far from over. But as long as there are countries like Country E, and as long as there are people willing to speak out against injustice, there is always hope. Outrow, what can you do? Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more updates on global issues. The mass deportations happening around the world are a stark reminder of the importance of staying informed and speaking out against injustice. Don't let the actions of a few erode your faith in humanity. Remember, even small acts of kindness can make a world of difference.